When I'm walking down the street.
I do want to say to Doni and many of you in this room that over a very long career in this city, all of you have helped me and my colleagues tell the truth and to try to tell.
I may not look like you and you me, but
Put my hat up.
I'm from South Carolina, so I just...
What does this event mean to you, Miss Peggy Moss?
Oh, my heart,
Happy 20th anniversary.
my heart is about loving up on my sisters. Do you know what it feels like to have your sisters in the room? Done.
And dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. I am beautiful, I am blessed, but not just what you see in the flesh. I'm free from people, free from myself.
The doctor lived next door to the janitor, to the reverend, and the lawyer. We were together. Now we get so high and mighty that you create stress for your society because you don't like poor black folks in you. That's a health problem. Get yourself together so I can stop being taking care of geriatric people and get back to pediatrics. I thank you, Doni, for all you've done. Let's keep doing it for all the more.
Letting His glory shine through. Dare to be you, dare to be me, dare to be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. And I dare you, I dare you, I dare you to be you.
Good morning. First name's Doni, last name's Glover. In it to win it for the long haul, baby. Okay, that was a little flat. Anyway, we're here. We have a very special show today. We have the White House Press Secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, joining us. We'll talk a little bit about Black history. She's from Martinique initially, a French-speaking country in the Caribbean. And then we'll talk a little bit about the Biden accomplishments. I've had there he goes, one of our fearless sponsors, Mr. Michael Haney. And then we'll talk a little bit about what President Biden has done for the country. Now, I was on a show last night, the Reese Show. Nice show. And the gentleman was polite. Come to find out that he was a Trump supporter. And Michael Haney, this man did his best to try to get me to throw Biden under the bus. But you know me, I stuck to my guns because my point, and I'm not here to defend anyone. I think your record speaks for you. That's what the old folk told us, Michael Haney, that may the work I've done speak for me. So my thing to him was, Donald Trump has been a thorn in the side, not just of this country, but the world. He, in my humble opinion, is a real narcissist. And I saw a definition of narcissist earlier this week. It said someone who wants all of the accolades of a hero, but has the accountability of a child. Here's Doni. Good morning. Oh, there goes Michael Haney. Good morning, Ms. Karine Jean-Pierre. Thank you for supporting Doni and the Black press. Well, that, Michael Haney, is absolutely true. And on that note, a very special thank you to Roderica Applewhite. And Michael Haney, when you're ready to go to the White House, we will make sure that we connect you with Miss Applewhite, because this point right here is very clear. I will tell you this, as a Black journalist, as a publisher of both BeMoreNews.com and Black USA News, it is important that independent Black news outlets like ours get the same opportunity or get similar opportunities. Certainly, we're not capable thus far of covering the White House every day. First of all, it's a long commute, a thick commute. God, I was in traffic 2.5 hours yesterday coming home. But nonetheless, no complaining, because it was well worth it, because as a result of those hours stuck in traffic, we get to interview the White House press secretary. But we're also appreciative and grateful that news outlets like ours get the opportunity to run the ball. And not at all are we a B team or non-starters. We start every day. We broadcast this Emmy-nominated show thanks to Michael Haney, Dr. Tyrone Taborn. We produce every day of the week. However, I would be a lie to tell you that it's not super exciting to go to the White House, to cover the White House, and to interview people like Dr. Claire Nelson, who we interviewed yesterday. And she's the founder of the Afro-Caribbean Institute. Now, I know I've messed that name up, but nonetheless, she's from Jamaica. She did not like my wagwan. She said my wagwan needed a lot of work. But what she did acknowledge was some of the history that we don't know. And I didn't know, for instance, Michael Haney, that in the Haitian Revolution, there was a Jamaican named Bookman who was right in there helping Toussaint Louverture, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, as well as Henry Christophe. So he was a Jamaican. Mr. Bookman was a part of that, and that was absolutely huge. Special thank you. Let me just take a moment and thank not just Mr. Haney, but Dr. Tyrone Taborn. Next week, February 15th, 16th, and 17th, Dr. Taborn will be having the Black Engineer of the Year Awards STEM DTX Conference. And that will be at the Baltimore Convention Center. It will bring millions of dollars in tourist revenue to the city of Baltimore, of which we are very excited. I will say, now, I've heard a lot of criticism of the mayor. I have no dog in this race for the mayor's race, May 14th, 2024. But I will say, personally, considering that I know Joy Bramwell, have known her for 25 years, to know that her son, P. David Bramble, is now the man charged with redeveloping Harbor Place, I'm personally excited. Now, people have different ideas of what the plan should look like. I have a little bit, very little, 2 years of poly, which is a lot when you consider what's available out there. But I certainly have an appreciation for those who build, engineers, and I want to see what P. David Bramble comes up with. What is interesting is the pushback that we're getting from people who haven't said anything about the Baltimore Inner Harbor in 20 years. And so all of a sudden, just like when Barack Obama came in to clean up after George W. Bush and his fiasco, to have David Bramble come in and clean up a harbor that's just been languishing, just been floating. No word, no complaints. Stephanie Rollins Blake put a ton of money on the harbor. Remember, there was the Grand Prix. They took money from our Baltimore City recreation centers and put it downtown on a Grand Prix, pushed forth by 2 councilmen. Because I'm feeling generous today, I won't name their names, but 2 councilmen, 1 black, 1 white, pushed the Grand Prix on us. It was a fiasco, a waste of time and money and resources. Meanwhile, John Eager Howard wreck is gone. It was one of the greatest wrecks in West Baltimore, had produced some of the greatest ball players. And I'm not saying that producing ball players is all that we can do in the city of Baltimore. Of course not. We produce scholar athletes. Some great scholar athletes have come through the city of Baltimore. But nonetheless, it's Black History Month. And again, today we have the distinct opportunity to interview White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre. I get to throw on my little French accent and enjoy what is probably one of the most magnanimous interviews that this news outlet, established back in December 2020, amidst COVID. One of the greatest interviews that we have ever been able to do. Now, to my students, entrepreneurs, and people on the rise, I want you to know that you can accomplish anything. There are no limits. And being the father of a daughter who is very accomplished, she's been an entrepreneur for the past 7 years, she's 23. And being the father of 2 granddaughters and a grandson, but I'm talking about the girls in particular. I personally have always sought the advice of fathers of dynamic little girls for advice on how to be the best dad and now best granddad I can be, because I knew and know very little about raising a girl. What I do know is to be there. And when you look around our community and when you see 70% single mother households in the Black community, you'd have to be a rock. You'd have to be non-animate to not be disaffected, to not have listened to some of the stories of our women. And I'm talking about the Black community. We're talking about Black history. This is Black USA News. No slighting of other communities, but I know in our community, we have a lot of absent fathers. We have a lot of absent mothers at this juncture. But nonetheless, this childhood trauma can be addressed, arrested, and healed. But it takes all of us. It takes a village. Earth, Wind, and Fire had a song. We can touch the world, but it's going to take all of us to bring our children back. As Derek Thomas's film Raised by Wolves infers, our children, many of our children in this day and time have had to raise themselves. I was talking with a teacher a couple of nights ago, and the teacher told the student that you've been coughing for a week. You need to stay home. You need to go to the doctor. I said, well, suppose that student doesn't have a doctor. We presume that everybody has a doctor. Everybody has a primary care provider. No, they don't. Not everybody has a doctor. Not everybody has the opportunity to get medical care. And so one of the great things that came out of the former Democratic president's administration, Barack Obama, and we all have been critical of him. I am guilty. He could have done more for Black people. He could have had a Black moment. I was a part of that. At the same time, thank you, Mr. President, for that health care. We've been able to get to the dentist, to the doctor, introduce new words into our lexicon, like prostate exam for many of us, colonoscopy, and a whole bunch of other things. For our women, pap smears, you know, and I think about a pap smear, my God, the things I've learned, woo, that's just some heavyweight stuff that women have to go through. Good morning, Alexis. Black Business Review is in the house. Alexis has been a very fine ally amidst this world of digital news that we've been riding for the past 21. This year makes 22. This is actually my 30th year as a journalist, so we're really honored that on today we get to take Black USA News to another level. So there is an election. There is an election coming up here in the city of Baltimore on May 14th. We will be deciding who will be the next mayor of Baltimore for the next 4 to 8 years. I've heard a lot of criticism of the current mayor. At the same time, I'm personally proud to hear our leader, the leader of this city, talk so proactively about being Black. And in many ways, he's been the Blackest mayor in America. He hasn't reached Marion Barry proportions. That will take some work. And I don't know that he can get that done in 4 years, but he can certainly begin. The journey of 1,000,000 miles starts with the first step. So I want to thank all of you for your support over the past, it's been 4 years? December will make 4 years, 2020. My God, this time has flown. We've been doing the streaming. We've had shows. We have shows in Oakland. We've had shows in New York, Miami, Atlanta. We have a very great colleague down in Louisiana, not in New Orleans, but in Louisiana. And so, I don't know. We're grateful to have this platform to be able to reach people, to talk about a litany of topics. Of course, here at Black USA and Be More News, we are often talking about Black business, considering that African Americans control some $1.6 trillion in annual disposable income. It's okay, no problem. Running behind a couple of minutes. We control some $1.6 trillion in annual disposable income. And given that, that is why we do the Black Wall Street Awards. I might as well use this opportunity to plug these two books. This was my first book in 2015, Unapologetically Black. We talk about the interrelationship of politics and economics. We have a litany, a plethora, a cornucopia, if you will, of Black elected officials. And we assert back in 2015. Now, that's what we have today. Black governor all the way down to the Black mayor and Black city council president, Black state's attorney, so on and so forth. All of that means nothing if we cannot parlay that into economic empowerment. This is the second book, came out in 2021. And I just learned yesterday, kudos to April Ryan. I interviewed her. Do check out bemorenews.com and our YouTube channel. April Ryan has 4 books out. I did not know. Sister Girl has been blowing it out the water. And great job. She's been at the White House longer than anyone. But in Black Wall Street, of course, we bring attention to what happened in Tulsa back on May 31st to June 1st, 1921, where some 36 square blocks of Black businesses were bombed from the air. They bombed them. You dropped a bomb on me. Remember that? They dropped a bomb on our people in Tulsa, Oklahoma, all because of a miscommunication, someone saying that the Black man did something to the white woman, and it wasn't like that. I later learned that these two actually got married, the Black man and the white woman. Byron Deese, this show is very necessary for the culture and the plight of Black America. Onward and upward. Uhuru, my man, Byron Deese. Got to get you back on the show, Byron. And then to a mentor, a big brother, originally from Cherry Hill. He says that he is rich. That means raised in Cherry Hill, for those who don't know. Thank you, Donnie Glover, for giving the Black community the real news over the years. Proud of you. 30 years, big brother, Irvin. And we've certainly had had some involvement in elections. I have not always stood with who people thought I should stand with, but I stand by who I stood by. And I was just telling someone the other day that Boyd Rutherford is probably the closest thing to Marion Barry that I've seen in this community in the state of Maryland in terms of the empowerment of Black people. He helped put Rashid, Aziz, and the citywide youth empowerment team in business right down North Avenue. A big ups to Alicia Wilson too. She was a part of their journey. Citywide Youth, they are the creators of Made and Be More Clothing and also Frozen Desert Sorbet. Boyd Rutherford is a Republican. And I've seen the Republicans put more investment on North Avenue through Early, through Hogan, than 3.5 decades of Democrats. Facts. You damn Skippy. And Boyd's been a man of his word. You can't, I mean, there's many of you know that I'm working on a master's up in Morgan in journalism. There is a internship that offers students the opportunity to work at the bipartisan policy committee. And that's something that I may be interested in down the road. Michael Steele, former lieutenant governor, before Boyd Rutherford. As a matter of fact, Boyd Rutherford was secretary of the Department of General Services under the Ehrlich Steele administration. But I saw that administration give opportunities to Black people that just did not exist. People just were not pushing business our way. And while I have been a huge critic of his zero tolerance policing policies, Martin O'Malley, in my limited scope, was the first that I saw. And I'm talking about during my career. I'm not talking about before. Of course, there was Perrin J. Mitchell, Robert Lee Clay, Reverend Doug Sands, Arnold Jolivet, who were pushing Black business, and the buzzword, which I despise, is minority business enterprise, because I don't view myself as a minority. Not globally. In America, 13, 14%. But nonetheless, we are very impactful with our 12 to 13%. And that's why there's this disproportionate mass incarceration in America. How can people who make up 13% of the population make up half of the prisons? That's a question. How do we, as a nation that represents 5% of the world population, how in the world do we have 25% of the world's inmates? There's something fundamentally wrong with those statistics, something fundamentally wrong with those proportions. Too many Black people locked up, and too many of us are not, especially those of us who are in position. Yesterday, we had a lady on, I have to get her name, but she was pushing Olinda Moyd, and she is a law professor, lawyer, but more than that, a social justice champion who is fighting mass incarceration. And we were joined also by Natasha White, who does a show on this network. And Natasha does not want, she wants everybody to know about the challenges that come with solitary confinement and how horrible it is. I did not know this sister was dealing with solitary for 4 years. Boyd was a huge asset to bring capital for Black businesses. Yes. Throughout the Hogan administration. Yes. Regardless of politics, we need him and like him in positions of power. Yes. Here we go.
Hey, Byron. We are about to, oh, wait. Sorry.
It's Doni.
I read the name. I'm sorry. We'll be on in a second.
Okay. So there you have it, folks. So mass incarceration is a huge issue for us. We know that, you know, I was just sharing with Roderica yesterday that many of the Black men whom I live around, whom I interact with on a daily basis, have a prison story. I don't have a prison story. Alexis doesn't have a prison story. Irvin Reed does not have a prison story. But in my community, I live in 21217 here in Sandtown, where Freddie Gray, where the Freddie Gray unrest began and ended. Many African-American men, 21217, 21215, over in East Baltimore, 21205. Too many Black men have a prison story. Today, Black women are the fastest growing demographic. We have to be aware of that. And so when Olinda Moyd came on and discussed the implications of mass incarceration, we were very attentive. Without further ado, I'm a little nervous. I can't believe I just fumbled. You got to unmute your microphone there, Madam Secretary. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning, Doni. Thank you so much, Mr. Glover. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity. Happy Black History Month. We're in it.
You have a lot of fans here. You have a lot of fans. Yeah. We are so proud of you. You are history.
Ah, that means so much to hear that. Thank you so much. As you know, things are hard and tough. So to be uplifted in that way, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, a very special lady in my life told me, well, she insisted that I ask you, how does it feel to be history, to endure what you endure on a daily basis? How do you keep, she asked about your mental health. I mean, how is your day?
Well, thank you for asking that. And what is your special someone? What's her name?
Tanya.
Your wife's name?
Tanya.
Please tell Tanya I said hello and thank you for the support. Look, let me just first say the support that I get from this community, our community is there is no words for it because it's just beyond. It is so tremendous. And I remember, it reminds me when I'm having a tough day, a hard day, Because these jobs, all of our jobs here are very difficult. This is a difficult time. It's good to know that I have the Black community that lifts me up every day and who are so proud of me being here, standing behind the podium, being the voice for this president, being his White House press secretary. So it is an honor. I mean, look, I try to just stay focused on the work at hand. What we are doing, what this president is doing in this country, it is, and for the world, is so important. It's so needed. When you think about what he came into, think about the pandemic, the economy on a tailspin. Like, we came in dealing with a bunch of crises, racial inequality, and having to take that head on. So we understand, he understands, and I understand that there's so much work to be done, and we are on the right side of history, if you will. And so we're going to continue to deliver for the Black community, for the American people, and we're getting this economy back on track. And there's so much more other things that I want to talk to you about, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of sense, like how my mental state is, how I move forward, knowing that it is important, the work that we all are doing here on behalf of this president. And that's what matters. That really, truly is what matters.
I want to thank you on behalf of the Black media for hiring Roderica and sure that
Roderica, we love her. She's embarrassed right now. She's sitting to my left, and she's like she's, oh my gosh, she's just so embarrassed. But we got to lift young people up. And Roderica is an amazing colleague, and we are very lucky. As you know, she just started working here. Erica Lowe had the job before her, and I was really thrilled to be working with Erica, another wonderful young Black woman. And so now having Roderica, she's on it. She is on it, and she has great relationships with you all. She gets me on with the Black media every week. Every week, I am talking to all of you about the president's plan for the Black community, what we've been able to do. And I'm developing these relationships with all of you. And it's because of a lot of the work that Roderica is doing and her relationships. And so she is making sure that the White House is communicating directly with all of you. And so she's phenomenal. Very happy to have her here.
For 14 years, I've been blessed with the opportunity to cover the White House. To come there and to see you, to see Roderica, to see people who look like me, because 14 years ago, it was a little different. Yeah. And then with the last administration, we got zero access. Why is it important to have it? We got zero access.
So look, here's the thing. And this is the part of the beauty, right? As we're talking about Black History Month, representation matters. It matters. It matters. Being seen, but also having those folks around the table as we're talking about policy. But the good thing is we have the president, we have the vice president, the first Black woman to be vice president. It matters, right? It matters as we're moving forward with what we're doing here for this country and the community. Look, when the president walked into this administration, unemployment for our community, for Black community, was at 9%, more than 9%. Now, as we look at the data, which came out of October of 2023, now it's at 5%, a little bit more than 5%. Now, it's still too high. We still have a lot more work to do, but that's because of the work that this president has done. The American Rescue Plan, the first plan that he signed, no Republicans signed that, voted for that plan. Only Democrats. The president signed it into law. It cut child poverty in our community by more than half. These things matter. Putting putting money in people's pocket that truly need it just to survive. People sit around the kitchen table, Doni, and they're trying to figure out how they're going to pay for bills, right? They're trying to figure out, should I pay for my rent? Should I pay for my health care? I can't pay for all of it, right? That's what they try to figure out. The president understands this. And so there's a piece of legislation that he was able to sign into law. Again, only Democrats voted for it. Republicans didn't. Matter of fact, Republicans are trying to repeal it. It's called the Inflation Reduction Act. Let me tell you what it does. Insulin. We have folks, seniors. Think about seniors in our community. They pay more than $400 a month, right, to pay for insulin. Now it's capped at $35. You think about ACA. We have been able, the Affordable Care Act, it was also known as Obamacare, that was protected, started in the Obama-Biden era, and now is being protected by this president. We have more Black families, more Black Americans on ACA so that they can get health care. right? You think about our energy bills. Because of this piece of legislation, energy bills are down a little bit. You think about Black wealth. Black wealth has gone up by 60% under this administration because of what we've done. You think about HBCUs, $7 billion invested in HBCUs under this administration. So we're taking this very seriously. The president has this saying where he says, promises made and promises kept. He walked into this administration along with our Vice President Kamala Harris and said that we are going to make sure we use the whole force of the government to move forward with racial justice and racial equity. And we've been able to get that started. Again, more work to be done, but to get that started. Can you imagine the President of the United States in the first couple of days signs an executive order to make sure that the federal government, the agencies working in the federal government, moves forward with policy that has equity at the center of it? Truly looks at how they move forward with their government, with their agency, as we talk about policies and creating policies and making sure that we are not left out of those discussions. And so going back to how I started this conversation, representation matters. Having people at the top who cares, who understands, who look like us, like this vice president, like this president being, obviously understanding the promises that he made. It is so important.
There's so many questions that I would want to ask you. I know we only have a few minutes, but the Suez Canal, the Red Sea, the Houthis, the Hamas and Hezbollah, you're in the middle of a huge firestorm. But the question that I have to ask you, considering that Roderica has certain roots Guyanan, you have certain roots Martinique. This is Black
Haiti.
And Haiti. Yesterday, and I'm just learning that there was a Jamaican who was a part of the Haitian Revolution, Mr. Bookman. I didn't know about that. Toussaint Louverture, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, Henry Christophe. But how important, because I have a Puerto Rican grandfather, but so many of us don't know how interconnected the diaspora is. Why was Afro-Caribbean Day yesterday so important?
It's so important. And I actually sadly missed it because I was traveling with the president to New York. We had a couple of events there, so I traveled with him. And I heard the event was amazing. There were about 50 leaders from the community. And you're right. You said something that's so important. We are directly connected as a diaspora, as a community. And it is important for us to understand that, to understand our history. Let me Oh, there we go. I'm back. Haiti got they became the first Black republic in 1804. And it led to revolutions across the world, right? If you think about it, because they were the first. There's a strong connection to Haiti and the Louisiana Purchase, for example. We are all connected. And we really have to remember to be proud of all of our rich cultures, because without Haiti, there couldn't be, they couldn't be us. There couldn't be other revolutions that were happening, and brown and Black revolutions that were happening across the country. And so it is across the globe, pardon me. And so it is important to understand that, and how we are connected in a very deep culture, deep community, rich history. And if you understand that, then it gives you the pride to move forward. It gives you the respect for others and for yourself to move forward. It is such a beautiful thing. That is one of the things that I love teaching my daughter about the history of amazing African Americans here. The other day, not too long ago, a couple months ago, I was able, I stand behind the lectern at the podium in the White House press corps, and I got a new podium, and I was able to name every White House press secretary that gets a new podium gets to name that lectern. And the last time we had a lectern in the briefing room was in 2007. So we took that seriously. I took it very, very seriously, and we named the lectern to honor Alice Dunnigan and Ethel Payne. They were the first two Black women journalists in the White House press corps. So just think about it. Their bravery, their tenacity, their hard work, they were able to do something that was pretty difficult to do back then. They didn't see anybody else that looked like them, and they said to themselves they wanted to be part of the White House press corps. And I think if you think about what the White House press briefing room is all about, right? It gets televised. Anytime there's a press briefing, it gets televised. It is about democracy. It is about the freedom of press. And it's not just televised here, it is televised globally. And to have named that lectern after these two women, I think just really shows who we are as a country. And it is important to not forget what these two women did and what these two women meant. And here's the thing. I had to learn about them. I had to learn about who they were. I had to learn about who they were. And once I did, I was like, wow. And that's why it's so important to learn about our history, you know? And I also have to thank the White House Correspondents Association, because at their last dinner, they actually created an award in their honor. And that's how I started to learn about Dunnigan and Payne. And so now when you see me standing at that lectern, doing the briefing, just know that lectern is named after the two first Black women that were part of the White House press corps. It is the Dunnigan Payne lectern.
So what, do I have to become the next press secretary after you so I can name it after Harry McAlpin?
Yeah, I mean, hey, you know, well, you know, we will certainly not forget that too. There's so much rich history. There really is. There's so much rich history there. You know, I have to remember all the time, and I know this in my soul, in my heart. There were many people before me. I stand on so many shoulders. I do. People who have sacrificed before me, and people who I learned from, who I'm learning from, about what they did and what they sacrificed and how and what path they took. I would not be there without the many shoulders that I stand on. And that's just a reality.
I have to ask you, being the father of a daughter and now two granddaughters.
Nice.
And you mentioned your daughter.
Yeah.
Please say a word of encouragement to our little girls, because this is a tough world. The older I get, the more I listen to the women in my life, and I've learned of the challenges, the struggles. We as men, we have no idea of what our women, what our girls face from growing up, and the attacks on them that we have no idea about. Please, a word of encouragement.
I appreciate that, Doni. I think that's so important. Look, and we have other hurdles too. In 2022, June of 2022, you had a Supreme Court, the highest court of the land, that decided that they were going to overturn Roe v. Wade, which was the law of the land for almost 50 years. That's what they decided, a very conservative court. And, you know, the former president said that this is what he wanted to see happen. And guess what? It happened. And we have to remember, when the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, it was about taking away women's right to decide, make really important decisions about their health care, their reproductive rights. Absolutely. And we have to make sure we continue to fight for women's health. But it was about other things too. It was the beginning of the possibility of taking rights from people, right? From taking rights from underserved communities. That's what they said. Clarence Thomas, he said that in part of the decision, the Dobbs decision. Like, this was just the beginning. And so we have to be very, very clear about what's happening here. That's why this president and this vice president, you've seen this vice president crisscrossing the country, doing tours, going directly to colleges, talking about what we need to do to make sure that we are protecting women, going to the belly of the beast. You know, she kicked it off in Wisconsin, where there was a very restrictive piece of legislation that was introduced there that continues, because we have seen in states these bills just coming up. And Republicans, we got to call out Republicans too. Republicans, elected officials, are saying that they want a national ban on abortion. And so it is putting women's lives at risk. We have heard horrific stories about what this has done, the overturning of Roe has done to women's lives and put their health care at risk, because there's some of these bills, no exceptions to rape or incest. So just imagine that. Just imagine that. So yes, to your point, to your question, Donnie, it is what women have to go through, women of color, Black women have to go through, is an uphill battle. It is a little bit tougher. It is. And what I say to my daughter, what I say to young women who come up to me and ask me my story, or sometimes in tears because of that representation and what it matters to what it means to them and how it matters, I say to them, look, you are everything that you need to be. Don't ever let anyone tell you different. You have a voice, use that voice. Follow your passion. Don't ever let anyone tell you anything else. We see you, we lift you up. We believe that you are magnificent, and we cannot wait to see what you do next in your life. You are everything that you need to be.
When you first stepped to the podium at your first press conference, what were you thinking? Were you thinking? I mean, me myself, I think I'd be thinking of a boxer, whether it's Tank Davis or Javante. Canelo Alvarez. I mean, because they're coming at you left and right, and you keep that jab on them. What are you thinking when they're coming at you at every angle? What's the mentality?
So let me just first say that it is an honor and a privilege to be the White House press secretary. That is never lost on me. It is an honor and a privilege. I am the 35th White House press secretary to the 46th president of the United States. That's a big deal. That's really important. I am the person that is the voice on obviously the staff level for the president. When he needs somebody to go out there to speak about what's going on, I do that. And again, not just to America, but to the world. That is an honor. That is an honor. And I will never forget that. And I will do everything in my power to respect that, to respect that opportunity that I have. And the other thing I will say is, look, the White House, with the White House press corps, it's a give and take. It is a give and take. I respect all the reporters that are in the room. I have to. And I hope that they respect me in doing my job. Right. And look, it's not easy. You get the tough questions, and you get the tough questions because it's the freedom of the press, right? It is their job to ask the tough questions. And it is our job to answer those questions the best that we can, right? It is my job to push forward whatever platform messaging that the president wants to get out there to the American people. It is a give and take, and it is important. It is important as we talk about the freedom of the press. It is important as we talk about our democracy, by the way, as you know, is being under attack. Yes. It is important. And this is a president that respects that. And because he respects that, I have to respect that.
We do. Karine Jean-Pierre, we're so thankful for the opportunity. Thank you so much for joining us here on BlackUSA.News.
Thank you, sir. My pleasure. It was an honor. It was an honor.
All right, merci beaucoup. Yes, ma'am.
Merci beaucoup.
Well, there you have it, folks. What do we say to Black voters who want Biden, what Biden has done for Black Americans, who want to know what Biden? Well, you stay tuned, Byron Deese. We'll bring some reports that we've had. Matter of fact, I'm gonna put this out there. I would love for Mr. Haney, Byron, for you to join me. We'll do some post-interview wrap-up. Special thank you to all of those people, Marsha Jews, and all of those people who are in our camp who have made this show. Dr. Tyrone Table made this possible. Come on and join me, Michael Haney. We'd love to get your feedback. Didn't get a chance to fully embrace your. Come on in here, Haney. You know the system. I didn't get a chance to read all of your. What do you think about the Supreme Court pending decision on the ability for states to remove that? Donald Trump should be gone. I mean, why are we even having this discussion? That's the thing. Why do we even have to have a discussion? If he were a Black man, they would have cut his you know what off and thrown him to the wolves. Byron Deese, come on and join us. Irvin Reed, come on and join us. Get some feedback from the team. Byron Deese. Irvin Bernard Reed, come on and join us. Michael Haney. Link. Don't get shy now, gentlemen. This is America, but I had to throw a little bit of French in there. There we go. We're about to be joined by Michael Haney. There we go. There you go, Mr. Haney.
I want to cry. I'm so proud of you. I don't know how you did it. Excellent interview, man. Excellent interview. You said it all. I mean, this past 47 minutes, it seemed like 8 hours, just slow motion, with things happening, and someone that we see on a daily basis that is absorbed with all of the issues in America and internationally, because she has to represent, as she says, to the world press, the perspective of the president, So, and then you have an opportunity to ask that person questions and interview that person live here from Baltimore. I don't think people fully understand the implications of this, man.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you, because you have been a supporter of this network, the very first corporate supporter of this network from the beginning, December 2020. And, I'm not always a walk in the park, but nonetheless, you kind of treat me like Jesus. He looked beyond my fault and saw my need and our need. I mean, what would we do without a voice? What would we do without Good Morning? What's it called? Wake Up Baltimore?
Wake Up Baltimore, 60 Minutes in Black America, inspiration by you. But people don't know what we have to go through personally for the sacrifices we make for others. Sacrifice is great. And what does that mean to bring people what we believe in? When you have to cross the barbed wire fence for other people to walk on your back and you endure the pain. And today, as a result of the pleasure, that pain that you may have endured in the proverbial lay across the barbed wire fence for people's knowledge and ability to participate in history. So what the consequences are for you personally, people don't understand. They don't know. We all have demons. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not implying anything other than sacrifice is great when it's for the greater good. And how many of us really understand what that means? But this is today is ultimately for all of us, what the sacrifices you've made result in.
There you go.
Because we got our information firsthand. We got it firsthand. We got our information firsthand today. Firsthand.
Well, we're proud of you, Michael Haney. Tell them who you are, Michael Haney, before we introduce Mr. Byron Deese.
Hey, man, first and foremost, as I tell people, man, I'm a human
plug
being.
Calvin? I try to get my Calvin plug in.
Better person. Trying to be a better person, man, in support of people like you, Doni, as unselfishly as I can be. You know what I'm saying? That's it, man. It's all for the greater good of all of us. When one of us wins, we all win. And you're indicative of that today. It's about you, man, today, as far as I'm concerned. It ain't about me.
I can't. It's a team. It's a team effort. It's a family.
Well, it's not for you to say. I said it.
Okay. So
it's not for
Mike,
you. Just sit back and enjoy it and smell the coffee of how people see you.
To God be the glory. Byron Deese, welcome to the show. You've never met big brother Michael Haney, but Byron Deese, tell him about your network.
Yeah, and I watch Brother Haney all the time and always enjoy your insight and your input on everything, brother. So big ups to you. Byron Deese, wealth manager and founder of the Dreammakers Network. And Doni, I want to tip my hat to you, man. This was truly what we talk about in advance in the plight of Black people. today. Like, this was it. This is what it takes to connect with those who have the resources directly from the White House. I mean, when we get people in a position of power, do they connect with the network? Does the network really is it really real? Does it connect from the White House to the streets? And this was an example of how that works and the potential of what we can do. So kudos to you for making it happen, doing the work, making it work. I mean, this is beautiful, man. It was almost misty-eyed. I saw some of the posts. I was like, this is real. This is exactly.
Yeah, I am misty-eyed. Absolutely, Brian. I'm misty-eyed, Brian. You know what today's interview did? Byron, you know what today's interview did? It restored my faith and gave me a reason to revisit Joe Biden. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's all about. You know what I'm saying? So all of a sudden, as a result of what she did in conjunction with Doni, and I'm sure other people feel the same way, let's revisit this conversation about why Black men are leaving by record numbers, and should we be, and examine the real record instead of, looking at some of the, fodder out there regarding Black men leaving, the numbers of Blacks leaving, the Democratic Party not supporting Biden. This is the type of stuff that restores credibility. Not Joe Biden, but people like Karine Jean-Pierre.
Facts.
That's what it's all about. That's why media such as what you do, Byron, and Doni does, and I do, is important. Our perspective, hearing firsthand, making firsthand decision, not second or third, but with faces that resemble those that we can identify with. This is the ultimate. It's almost like Jesus, like Moses bringing down the tablets from, the mountain to the people, letting the people see for themselves why they should conform to the ways of Jesus Christ, And
that's right. So this is good for us to see. That is so true.
Absolutely.
Do you think a Donald Trump administration would have given us the same access?
Let me say this, because I remember when he was
as a media person, I'm gonna say I don't know.
I remember when he was. We didn't get to go to that administration at all. And the one time I went there, I got sick. As soon as I got to the gate, I just felt something like, I don't want to be here. And then they canceled it. And I was like, thank God. It was a Sunday morning. I'll never forget it. April Ryan asked me to cover for that day. And it was just like, I don't want to be here. And God let me go home. Thank you, Lord.
But Doni, remember when he actually tried to do things like that? So he would get Omarosa and all these different people. It always felt like a gimmick. Whenever he would reach out to the Black community, it was very gimmicky. It wasn't what we just experienced a second ago. But not only could we highlight the value of Black history and what this sister is doing, but then she began to outline what the administration has done for Black people. And that in and of itself it didn't feel gimmicky.
It felt like somebody's paying you attention.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, it was a bold move. Yesterday, Mike, they had Afro-Caribbean Day at the White House. Who talks about Harry Belafonte's Caribbean roots?
Huh.
A lot of us have, when you think about it, it's just one bus stop. Puerto Rico, Jamaica, Haiti, Dominican. It's just one bus stop. You got off there, we got off here, but we're all interconnected. They are cousins. But because they speak French or Spanish and we speak English, there are these different cultures. But this is the same. It's the same. Who knew that a Jamaican helped with the Haitian Revolution? And that lady, the White House press secretary, talked about the Haitian Revolution, the only successful insurrection in the Western Hemisphere. That woman, Martinique, with French lineage and French roots, talked about our greatest moment in the Western Hemisphere. Unapologetically.
And she also mentioned, she made it on purpose to say that she had to go out and get that information too. So it wasn't like it was taught in schools. She had to search for that information. It was education for her. This platform allows that kind of education to be provided.
Amen,
You know
Byron.
we're not getting them. It's K-12.
Amen.
She
Byron.
plugged Alice
Amen.
Dunnigan. She also plugged Ethel Payne. I gotta acknowledge, April Ryan told me about Ethel Payne years ago. I learned about Alice Dunnigan on my own, but I'd have to pay homage. And on that note, big ups to Ursula Battle, who was one of the first journalists in this city to lift me up. She was writing for the Baltimore Times and the Afro. She gave me a call yesterday. She thanked me for an article I wrote about it. But we've had a couple of fights over the years. You haven't met Donnie Glover. Byron, you've escaped unscathed, but
I've been ducking and dodging it.
yeah, well, you're a nice guy, Byron. But some cats like Michael Haney, you got to pop them upside the head, and they're gonna pop you back. If they from Baltimore, they're gonna hit you back. But that's like a Baltimore love tap.
Yeah.
You know, we just got to know we got to know you're tough metal. But Mike Haney, how do you think? I mean, are you not proud when you see that sister? They coming at her at the lectern, at the podium. They're coming at her all the time, and she just, you know, she can teach Brandon Scott a thing or two how to deal with McKenzie. Keep that jab on him. Keep that jab on him.
Well, you know, proud is an understatement. Proud is an understatement of what I have for her, but the proudest moment for me with her was 15 minutes ago. Because all of a sudden she's embraced and immersed in our community with someone that we trust and identify in terms of media. So the information appears different, you know, to me. And so all of a sudden I'm willing to take a look at what she's saying because that's instant credibility. So, you know, the consequences for this, if they understand the methodology, is huge. It's just huge, Donnie. And like I said, man, you know, take your props, man. You deserve it. You know, you and I go at it. You and I go at it. But, you know, when I saw this, man, I mean, he said, miss, I had tears because I know how hard you have worked. You know, and on another note, Donnie.
You won't let me not work hard. You won't let me not work hard.
Yeah, you got to, man. There's no excuses, man. No cut cards, no excuses. On the 19th of February, we'll be broadcasting to Donnie's channel live from Africa. I'm going to get up to do it February 19th. We're going over there to launch a business. 3 years ago, we did it on Donnie's channel. We're going to be talking to Africans that look like us about their perception of America, politics, what the war in the Middle East means to them, and what Black businesses look like as we go over there to launch with 3 other. So it's 4 Africans, 1 African-American, me, and 3 African counterparts of mine who I love dearly and trust dearly. And that's what it looks like versus a business that's Caucasian that uses and influences and takes all the resources out and brings them elsewhere. So on Donnie Glover's channel on the 19th, he didn't know this, but he knows it now. So he needs to set it up at 9 a.m. We're going to do a broadcast with a couple of people and talk about America and their perspective.
So, Mike, let's just get you to plug that and make sure that we acknowledge the hospitality company. What is the purpose of the trip to Africa?
So we are launching a call center. We're Global Training Centers Africa. And Donnie, I will send you some information, the link. Byron, I'm going to get your information because I want to hear from you, brother. I'm intrigued. I have known of you, but we, you know, like you said, this is a godsend for us to connect. So Global Training Centers Africa, Global Training Centers America are connecting. You know, I created both entities. And so with my 3 African brothers and sisters, we're launching a call center. You know, when you call Amazon and you hear somebody from Philippines or India, you'll hear somebody from Kenya that has a great capture of the English language. Their economy over there has not recovered since the pandemic. There's a need for jobs. You got people with doctoral and master's degree that are selling potatoes on the corner so they can send their kids to school because education over there is not free. So there's a lot of things that we can learn and be grateful for over here. But if we don't hear the story, then we never know. And so Donnie Glover, because if it wasn't for Donnie, there would be no 60 Minutes in Black America. There would be no Wake Up Baltimore. And Donnie gets crazy. You know, he gets absolutely crazy, but I'm not scared of him. I'm not going nowhere. I'm not backing down. I'm right where I was when he showed me I should do a show and have broadcast 3 years continuously and consecutively, because he ain't going to intimidate me from what he says we need to do as a people, because he's so right.
Come
and
here,
I
come here,
believe
Pharaoh.
in.
Come here, Pharaoh.
I'm not scared of Pharaoh either.
You see that face right there? That's the one.
I fight too. But Byron, I want to get your information, man. I'm gonna put something in the well, Doni will connect this, man. Before I
let's
leave,
do it.
I'll do that now. But Byron, tell them about the Dream Network.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you highlighted it the way you did, Mike Haney, because when you talk about creating a call center in Africa, people say, what does that mean? And why is that even important? But then anytime you call American Express or any of your credit card companies or anybody, now you're listening to somebody from a different location. And can they help you, guide you to what you're asking for?
Hell no, because you want to cuss them out. You're like, who put this person on the phone?
Why not have that type of call center in Africa where folks who are educated? That's a great business model. Love to learn more about how you're funding that operation, because that's where it really comes out. How do you advance Black businesses, whether it be here locally? How do you fund it? How do you get investment? So as a wealth manager, these are the things that we focus on and trying to identify Black businesses that are scalable, that have all the legs of revenue, but how do you fund it for long-term growth? And how do you use businesses like that to create wealth? And that is a big part. You just connected some dots that all of us can easily understand and know why it's important to invest in businesses like that.
So, Michael Haney, my understanding is that Byron Deese is replacing, or that might be a tough word.
Yeah, that's a strong word.
They say he's replacing Stanley Tucker. Can he do that?
Listen.
Stanley is a very good friend of mine. Stanley's a very good friend of mine. I've known Stanley for years, since he was at Commerce and he started Meridian. Stanley's a great guy. So you work with Stanley, huh?
So Stanley is the sensei. He's the one who has taught and educated us on how to, number one, understand Black businesses that have the potential to grow. And then number two, how do you invest properly in those businesses using sources of capital, whether it be state capital, venture capital, nonprofit capital. So these are the things that I've learned in particular. How do you advance public policy in a way that can invest directly into advancing Black businesses? And so that idea around the call center, I would love to learn more about that.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to share with you. Yeah, I can't wait to share with you that model, because to what you mentioned that you do, that I must and compelled to share with you and Doni, right? I told someone last night on a show, it's imperative that we own our processes of education, economic development, real estate, and stop depending necessarily on handouts. And we can do it. We just have to circle the wagons. There's no reason for a child of 3 or 4 years old to go to school and not be able to read, as well as one coming out of the 12th grade that can't read at grade level. But we have to own that. You know, the delusion of our economy was when Greenwood and Black Wall Street was decimated, and Brown versus Board went through. Separate but equal, what does it mean? I'm not sure, but Byron, we could have great conversation about what we're doing. I'm proud, man, because I sleep good, no debt, whatever. And Stanley knows me well. When I went to him to get money to buy a hotel, because I come from the hotel industry, Stanley guided me wisely. And I think he would be proud of where we are 12 years later, going over to Africa. And I'm not going economy, I'm going business class, because I'm not being curled up in an over here container for 15 hours. So if I can't do it the right way,
I just want to get this in Kenya, is there any semblance of a Kenyan distance running school, academy, college for people to come and train from all over the world? Pardon my ignorance.
Absolutely. You know, I was a track guy in college, all through college. So when I went over there the first time, we talked about their training apparatus, their training academies for long distance running. So absolutely, man, you'd be amazed
I
advancement
wouldn't
over
be.
there.
I wouldn't be. And has any athletic shoe company come as a huge sponsor? And we all know the names. We all have the tennis shoes. And that, okay. And now
Well,
we know.
we
So,
can see that very publicly.
Yeah.
We can see that very publicly until we start taking care of our own and the
are you
Michael
telling me that
Jordans.
Nike, New Balance, Under Armour, they have not invested, Converse, they have not invested in Kenya?
I will follow up, but I don't see it. Do you? If we did, we wouldn't be asking that question.
Wow. Wow.
Follow.
I mean,
Well,
and then don't forget Ethiopia. In distance running, the Ethiopians, the Kenyans, they lead, quite honestly, all the time. The Sudanese as well. The Sudanese, I mean, who else? I was in Ethiopia, let me tell you. People run. That's their mode of transportation. This is nothing for an Ethiopian to walk 20 miles. I ain't walking.
But do you think that they love the fact that the first 3 people that crossed the Boston Marathon? You think they love the fact that the first 3 people that crossed the Boston Marathon are, first of all, imports, as they described? And I lived in Boston, very, very racist, right? You think they like that? They'll celebrate it politely, but that ain't what they want to say. So why would they promote?
They'd rather O'Malley come across there, Sean O'Malley or somebody.
It just doesn't work that way, man.
Okay, one last question before you go, gentlemen. Have you seen the movie Chevalier? So
No,
there was a black Frenchman, and he was a fencer. Have you ever seen fencing?
Oh yeah.
I'd like to get Michael Haney on some fencing. Anyway, his name was Chevalier, and he was a classical violinist. He was a beast. As a matter of fact, in this movie, I've only gotten halfway through because it's very intense, and I got to take my time watching it. But I encourage you to watch the movie on the French swordsman and violinist concerto maestro Chevalier, Chevalier, a dynamic movie. Byron, any final thoughts before we get out of here? Gone over.
I just want to say, man, congratulations again. Again, this is the kind of work. This is the purpose of platforms like this, to be able to connect the dots from the White House all the way back to the people. And today was a great example of that. Kudos to you. Thank you for the work that you put in to make these types of opportunities happen. And we appreciate you, brother.
Michael Haney, any final thoughts?
Hey, Donnie, I love you. There's nothing you can do about that. In spite of ourselves, sometimes, we just have to embrace people with that, man. And what Byron said, man, drop the mic, Donnie, and go ahead and hit that end button. Drop the mic, baby.
Good morning, world.